Should we be seeing some changes coming to Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star, or Zenless Zone Zero, or any of the other gacha games that we've been playing? Well, maybe, because recently there's actually been some news dropped by the European Union pretty much talking about some kind of restrictions and some changes that are going to be made to some of the games in their areas. Now, thankfully, one of the main things that a lot of people should take from this is the fact that many of us aren't even in the European Union. Obviously, if you're over in Asia, you're not in the European Union. Even me over here in the UK, we're not in the European Union anymore, meaning that we don't have to follow this. So thank God, this doesn't really affect me. It doesn't really affect anybody in America either, obviously. But it does affect a lot of people living in European countries. And obviously, these games will still have to make these changes based off of these laws. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a widespread thing, or if it's just only going to be for these European countries, and only the European countries are going to see this, because they said the EU just took a big step towards combating predatory microtransactions, which, if you don't know, a lot of these gacha games are very full of. Now, they said the European Commission and the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network have established a set of guidelines aimed at stopping game companies from exploiting with virtual currencies. They say nowadays it can be very easy to rack up a big bill whenever it comes to online gaming, especially with the price of cosmetics like skins and emotes climbing almost constantly. Games like Marvel Rivals, Overwatch 2, Fortnite, and more pretty much thrive on exclusively the sales of microtransactions, and it can be easy for some to spend a lot of cash on virtual currency without realizing it. Now, obviously, if you don't know, that's a very big thing in gacha games. Microtransactions, even just in terms of buying Lunite, in terms of buying, all of the kind of Astrite, whatever you want to call it, Primo Gems, anything. They say Genshin Impact recently found itself in hot water due to similar issues, as the FTC claimed the game was hiding how much money it would take to pull the right character from loot boxes. Now it turns out, from the European Commission and the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network, which have published guidelines on virtual currencies following an investigation into a game called Star Stable Online. So actually this investigation was into a different game, but it could affect a lot of video games in the future, because if you don't know how the system actually works at the moment, especially for Wuthering Waves, especially for Genshin Impact and all of these other gacha games, most of them, is that you buy a currency and then you turn that currency into another currency, which then that currency can then be spent on the banner. Now, obviously, that is to make you feel like you're not spending as much money, and that is a kind of marketing scheme for them to feel like, oh, you're not actually spending real money, this is just fake points, even though you spent money to buy it, which, again, is terrible, and it does feel very, very predatory, It does. It does. It doesn't really matter. Obviously a lot of us gacha players do know that, and we do know the implications of this, but it seems like the European Union have had enough of this, and they're going to change this. They say EU bans games from disguising the price of microtransactions. They say in the investigation, it was found that the Star Stable Online was engaging in business practices that were particularly harmful for children, and convince them both that there is a need for European consumers to be better protected. To help on that front, both have now established guidelines with 7 key principles that must be followed whenever it comes to virtual currencies. Price indication. It should be clear and transparent. Practice obscuring the cost of in-game digital content and services should be avoided. Practices that force consumers to purchase unwanted in-game virtual currency should be avoided. Consumers should be provided with clear and comprehensive pre-contractual information. Consumers' right of withdrawal should be respected. Contractual terms should be fair and written in plain and clear language, and game design and gameplay should be respected of different consumer vulnerabilities. So again, that's a pretty clear set of guidelines there for the companies. Obviously, one of the main ones is price indication should be clear and transparent, which makes a lot of people think that there might be a system coming in place where they actually show the currency, or they show how much it costs in real money on this kind of thing. So for example, the temple button, people are speculating that maybe there's going to be an actual number, an actual physical cash number next to it to show you how much that is actually costing you. But again, it does get a little bit blurry, especially whenever you have all of these free-to-play aspects, because obviously not every single asteroid, not every single Primo Gem is paid, meaning that it's not, you're not actually paying that amount of money because you just farmed it for free in the world. But again, there probably might be a different way that they have to do it and go around about that. But again, they say that's a lot of jargon, but one of the biggest points here is that the game developers and publishers can no longer hide the price of microtransactions with virtual currencies without failing foul of these new guides. It doesn't mean virtual currencies are going away forever, but it will likely require all online games released in the EU to clearly display the real world price of any cosmetic you can buy with them. So again, they say released in the EU. I'm not sure if they mean like a game that is like specifically come from the EU and is operating in the EU, or if it's a game that has come from somewhere else, for example, China or wherever, you know, because a lot of gacha games are based in China. If they go from there and then go over to the EU and then they have to do it, I'm not sure if that, because they're not very clear with that. They say it's worth noting that these guidelines are not written in law, meaning that developers and publishers don't have to abide by them if they don't want to, but it does mean they'll be more susceptible to lawsuits, and if a company is sued, whoever does it will have the backing of the European Commission and Consumer Protection Cooperation Network. It is essentially a very strong deterrent, but companies are also warned that the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network will monitor progress and may take further actions if harmful practices continue. The bad news is that this is only for EU, so the likes of the UK and the US will still have the real price of microtransactions most likely hidden for now, but hey, a win is a win. So again, this kind of article is making it seem like this is a good thing. I do think this is a pretty good thing. Now, obviously, yes, it's not actually enforceable by law, so these companies can still do it, and I'm sure Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, and whatever will still continue the current model that they're at, because again, it doesn't really affect them, and if they don't have to do it, they don't have to do it. But it does open them up to a lot of lawsuits and a lot of suing and a lot of stuff like that. So maybe we'll see even more kind of lawsuits and cases coming out against some of these companies in terms of the way that microtransactions are done, because people are now free to do it, and people now have the backing of the European Commission, because again, it is now kind of like suable, you know, they are able to do that. Now, yeah, they're not going to enforce it. They're not going to be like, hey, you have to do this. But it does open them up to a lot of things, and it could be pretty bad for the game, especially for a game like Wuthering Waves, which is trying to grow and trying to improve their revenue. You know, Wuthering Waves would not very appreciate, you know, someone kind of going after them in terms of monetary means. But to be honest, they're making quite a bit of money at the moment now, so it should be fine. But we've seen a lot of lawsuits, including, you know, Genshin Impact and stuff like that, taking down leakers. And Genshin Impact definitely have more than enough money to take on some of these lawsuits. So I think it's probably better for them just to fight these lawsuits head on, throw a bit of money at it, and instead just kind of keep doing what they're doing, because that makes more money, and that will make them enough money to fight the lawsuits anyways. So it doesn't really matter in like totality. So again, I don't think there is going to be a massive change like just now, but it does seem like something is changing in terms of the EU. And as he said, Genshin Impact specifically was actually investigated by the the FTC over in America too. So it seems like America are looking into this as well, and more specifically towards Genshin Impact, not just like towards his random like horse game or whatever it was over in the EU. No, this is like actually specifically targeted towards Genshin, which again could cause problems for them in the future, and could cause problems for a lot of other gacha games in the future as well. So again, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on this situation to see if anything else does really change, because this is just something that has been kind of brewing. I think I talked about this previously with some other kind of stuff going on with the EU, like looking to do this, but it does seem like this bill has actually gone through, or I say bill, this kind of, I guess, guidelines have actually gone through, which again, yeah, it could cause a little bit of worry for a lot of gacha games out there. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think that, you know, there should be paid, or not, not paid, but like a kind of monetary symbol symbolizing how much you're spending on these banners and stuff like that? Again, let me know, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.